Are you happy in your business? Now, I have had my share of emotional ups and downs in my 20 years of being a solo entrepreneur coach. And the patterns I've seen in myself and in my clients is that those downs are usually when I was personally feeling unfulfilled. Sometimes it was because a launch that flopped, and sometimes it was just life and had nothing to do with business. But those ups, oh boy, those are the times when I was feeling my most authentic and completely aligned to my purpose, or when I just felt like I was rocking that work-life balance. I would be thinking I could do this all day long and never feel tired. One of my loves is sharing what works for me and what has been working for my clients to achieve this very feeling, full of passion, happiness, peace, and freedom. So I decided to create a private podcast for coaches. Maybe you just want to develop better communication skills that boosts engagement, leads to better results, and makes you feel like you're actually making a difference in the lives of the people you serve. Then you're invited too. We talk about this and more in the UBU private podcast for coaches. Whether you're a mentor, a parent, or run a client-focused business, coaching skills benefit everyone and anyone who wants to communicate in a way that builds relationships. Fall in love with your life and business again. Click the link in the show notes for your invitation to join us right now. Then come back and enjoy this episode. Hey, difference maker. Today, I am picking up where I left off on my story from last week, but I'll get to the point quicker because, as promised, this episode is about making the distinction between your niche or your niche and your audience. As you're growing your online business, I don't want you to make the same mistake that I made. Now, the last thing I said in the last episode, which is season 3, episode 1, if you want to go back and listen to that, was that I started this podcast to change my niche and to attract a different audience. And that was the point when I started creating my signature offer, even though at the time I didn't realize it because I was having a little setback in the niche versus audience department. Now, this epiphany is what I'm super excited to share with you today. It was because of my setback that now I ask a different question when I do business coaching. Now, other coaches are going to ask you that standard, who do you serve? Well, I could answer that question, but I had a blind spot, and you probably do too. And that's why you need to ask yourself a different question. But let me pause here so I can get the intro in, and then we're going to dive in. It's time to stop comparing yourself to others and plug into what is uniquely you. Welcome to Unbox Your Personality, the podcast for coaches, creatives, and educators like you who understand that your happiness makes you more effective at what you do, bringing out the best in others. I'm Jen P. Higgins, personality strategist and Enneagram fluff remover. Get laser focused on who you are and who you aren't, so you're free to make the impact you were born to make. And have fun doing it. Your personality is your business. So let's get down to business. So I started recording for my podcast launch in December of 2020. And this was my valiant effort to switch my niche back to business owners. And what I decided to do, I was doing a live show in my Facebook group that was called Jen and the Enneagram. And I decided to stop that and switch to a podcast. And I wanted to help business owners, specifically service-based businesses, which, spoiler alert, is not niche down enough. That's still too general. But this is what my message was, and it still is. Businesses need to understand that personality isn't just something that's nice to know. It isn't just about leveraging your strengths so that you can scale your business. It's so much more primitive than that. You need to understand that you're hardwired to process and respond to your environment. And this is for your basic functioning, like how much sleep you need, or how you like your eggs cooked, or why you hate country music. Now, I love all music, so no hate in my DMs, okay? But personality is the very thing that can make or break your business. Now, think about that for a second. Have you ever stopped shopping at a store because you had poor customer service? Or have you ever refused to eat at one particular restaurant, like a chain restaurant, because you had a personality clash with the manager? Or maybe you've changed doctors because of their bedside manner. I know I have. And on the other hand, though, have you gone out of your way to shop at the Kohl's that's 20 miles away, even though there's one that's right down the road, simply because you like the employees better at that location? Or maybe you bought something at a trade show because you had the best conversation with the artist that was there, even though you were pretty sure you could get it at a fraction of a cost at Amazon or something like that. So now you're the business owner that wants to attract buyers like that. But if you're using tactics or strategies that aren't aligned to your values or to your strengths, you're probably going to suffer from imposter syndrome. And if you aren't working with your innate core motivations, which is what the Enneagram helps us identify, you're going to struggle with procrastination, or maybe even the opposite. You might be working way too hard. So, anyway, that was the vision of the podcast. And I interviewed guests that were business owners, and not just any business owners, my favorite kind of business owners, coaches and educators. And when I interviewed them, we talked about how when they started understanding their personality, it really helped them thrive in their businesses. So that's all in season 1. Go check that out. Now, at the time, my most loyal followers were already business owners, or they were of that entrepreneurial mindset. So they were definitely in that who do you serve category, but they were not my ideal audience. So, how did this happen? Well, many of them found me through other business groups or business networks, like courses that I'd been taking. But a lot of them were also my friends, my Facebook friends, clients from my sales jobs that I had in past lives, or from the school where I was teaching, or from church, or from homeschooling. And it is true, most of them did have their own business, whether it was an MLM or they were teaching piano or teaching something else or writing a book, because yes, writing a book counts as a business. You have to market yourself. Or at least they had the aspirations of starting a business one day. So they all still ticked off this who do you serve checkbox. But what I have learned is that you've got to ask a different question. And that question is, where do you serve? Where are you meeting your audience? Or where is your hangout? Because if you're not in the right place, no one's going to pay attention to you. But also, if you're not in the right place and people are paying attention to you, they're not going to be your people. Even though that they're buying your stuff, they're going to be the dabblers. They're the ones who are downloading your freebies, but you're never going to get them to your signature offer, which is, newsflash, that's where you scale your business. So going back to my story, I sort of had this double life. Online, I was the Enneagram ninja, but offline, I was a business coach. And there was very little intersection between those two lives. So let me explain that a little bit. My business clients knew very little about the Enneagram, and honestly, they couldn't care less. They were more concerned about the success of their business. But the business that I was attracting from my online presence were people that just wanted to know their Enneagram type. They wanted to know their type and they wanted to move on and then get their business coaching somewhere else. Ouch. It like a shot through the heart. Because I've been a business coach for 18 years, you guys. I've only been an Enneagram coach for 3 of them. But the reason why I'm so dang good at it is because of my psychology background and my experience. So that's when I realized that the real gold in using the Enneagram in my business is how I coach. I know how to help people tap into themselves because I understand the Enneagram, not because they do. Because I understand the Enneagram, I understand the patterns. I know what to listen for. I know what words to listen for. I know what patterns to look for and to help them build systems and boundaries around them. And it's going to vary depending on what their personality is. One strategy for one person is going to be unhealthy, whereas that same strategy is what's going to help this other client soar. I know what questions to ask that are going to make the bigger impact instead of wasting an hour in a session going around in circles because I'm asking the wrong questions. They don't match their personality tendencies. So this was the gap between my niche and my audience. Now, in the next episode, I'm going to be talking about the 3 things that you need to know to close that gap. And I'm going to be honest with you. These aren't going to be new to you. In fact, every marketing guru that you have ever taken a course from or downloaded their freebie has already told you this. Just like I've heard it and coached on it a gazillion times myself. But every time you hear it, it's going to get clearer and clearer. Another layer gets peeled away. You go one layer deeper and you discover something new to unbox inside of yourself. And the more you unbox yourself, the more you unleash your power. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and reviewing the Unbox Your Personality podcast. To learn more about yourself, go to powercoachjen.com. Find out how you are different so you can make your difference.